So, okay, welcome to then our last presentation, Becoming an Open Foreign Language Educator. And today we're going to be talking about professional development. Um, and let's see, the place that I want to start is a website that we've been working on that I think once is the idea is just as I was prompting the panelists to share their stories, and again, the stories are very particular. They're anchored in a particular locale. They come from different languages. But here's a website that we're putting together. We have put together, but it's actually always going to be in a state of becoming because it is an open website, and we're soliciting from you right here and from those of you joining us on the internet. You too can write your story about becoming an open language educator. Let me just highlight a couple of these people. You already know them. So if we go up to the top there, we see that the people from KU, from Kansas University, who've been talking to us, share their story about how they created Accesso, the ups and the downs. And we also have a member of their team who hasn't been present here but was an integral part of their developmental team, Kia. So you can see that they're just about 2 or 3 paragraphs, or 3 or 4 paragraphs, not that long. So you've heard about Accesso. Let me just show you a couple of the other people. Wen Huateng is a Chinese lecturer, and she talks about herself as not a very technological person, not particularly technically savvy. So I think that's an important story, how she started to do. She's put together a wealth of materials, and again, she continues to see herself as not particularly good at technology. That's a voice I really wanted a lot of people to hear, because I hear that again and again. She's overcome a lot of not only her fears of technology, but she's found ways to collaborate with people who then are better at technology than she thinks she is. Let's go back. And of course, you've met George Detivo. One of the things that George talked about yesterday, and he highlights in his story, is using OER has put him in touch with a community of practitioners. So that was the thing that he kept talking about yesterday, and he articulates that nicely in his story, among other things. That's one of the things I took away from his story. We mentioned, let's see, the Spanish in Texas project. I just saw that both the directors are here today in the back, Jacqueline and Barbara. It's a highly collaborative endeavor on many different levels, and they keep expanding the collaborative team, and they talk about how they're using their students in their research, both undergraduate and graduate, and now they're reaching out as researchers, as sociolinguists reaching out to applied linguists, reaching out to language teachers. So they're kind of layers of collaboration in that particular story. We have Nicola is an interesting story there. Nicola is somebody who used, like Daniel Heron, she stumbled across Orlando's materials and was using Tafalado. And she was a learner of Portuguese, and but her background is in ESL, teaching English as a second language. So she was already a teacher, and she had already made pedagogical materials. And something about Orlando's materials really excited her because they were open. This was new to her. So as a student learning Portuguese, she had all these ideas learning through Tafalado, and she thought, I wonder if I can write kind of extensions to his materials as a student, writing materials for other students. And this is a kind of an interesting story that happens again and again. People who are, like Daniel, who are students themselves, have great ideas for other students, and it kind of, so it's the role of a student stepping into the teacher's role. Tola Mosadomi is, of course, the Yoruba instructor who wrote an open language textbook with us, and she talks about kind of the notion of in-reach, how she sent it out to the community, and then her students created these YouTube videos, and it keeps going. Let's see if anybody, there's Orlando, and and he's created a ton of materials online, and he talks about several of his projects there. I wanted to, Laura Franklin, we've mentioned her name. She is the editor of World Languages at Merlot, which is now, a large archive. She talks about the vetting process. We discussed yesterday how OERs, there are still questions about their quality. They're trying to address that issue of quality control at Merlot, and she actually asks you to join her because, of course, is this crowdsourced notion. Your foreign language teachers, you can then write evaluations and join their editorial team. Tony is, of course, the new president of ACTFL. She's also the 2009 French teacher or foreign language teacher of the year, and she is a heavy user of Français Interactif, and she talks about how she uses OERs in the classroom. And one interesting thing for teachers out there, she mentions the parents. So parents like OERs because it brings it into their class. They can engage, they can help they can learn along with their students, with their children. And then finally we end up with, we have more people that we want to add to this, but we have these two people at the bottom who are both from the UK, affiliated with the Open University. So here Fernando talks about using iTunes as a platform, and there's just a ton of materials on iTunes. And Tita talks about an interesting research kind of pedagogical project. She talks about it as research scholarship, our scholarship projects, and she's talking about performance, foreign language performance. This is through the European Union, so there are many different languages, and they are basically using drama in the classroom. So this is a really interesting project that's also, all of these are open, all of these are people's stories. So you can join us and you can help us amplify and keep growing this website. We will also be publishing this as a booklet and then disseminating this at conferences. The point here is this is on a spectrum. There are people who have been in kind of the OER, the open education movement, for several years. And then there are other people who are absolute beginners, people who have just tried their hand at it, and they talk about that. So you don't have to have expertise. You just have to have a little bit of chutzpah to say, I can do this, and then send in your story. Okay, so that's one thing that we are building and that we've been working hard on for this symposium. The next thing I want to talk to you about a little bit about is the whole notion of professional development, and that includes all of us, but particularly in the idea of teacher education. And I think there are a couple of problems here, and those problems have been confirmed with my discussions with some teachers during the symposium. Teacher education, we conceptualize professional development kind of as teacher education, as you are. Rachel in the back said, she's a brand new teacher. I just got finished my degree, just out in the field. So she's gone through teacher education here at the University of Texas. Colleges give you a degree, right? Whether it's foreign language education or a degree in Spanish or whatever. And then we have this construct. We think about continuing education. Once you're out in the field, you do in-service workshops like this. And then typically you have another institution here in Texas. It's called TEA, Texas Education Agency, and they grant you credits, these continuing credits. You have to amass. How many do you have to amass every year? Or don't you have to? I can't remember. Hours, credits, right? And okay, and it's given in hours, right? So seat time. Yeah, 60 something hours annually. Okay. Okay, but I think that there are some big problems with the way we conceptualize then professional development in those two bullet points, teacher education and continuing ed. First of all, we've been talking the past couple of days about informal learning because there's a lot of learning that happens informally. So lifelong learning, and so basically it grants you knowledge, but it doesn't give you these degrees, it doesn't give you hours, it doesn't come packaged in the way that the institutions talk about them. And informal learning now has moved largely online. People are learning an incredible amount of material because they now have access to all kinds of scholarly articles. You know, we now have MIT courseware, all of the materials that never existed before, all online. So we have learning networks, peer learning, all the kinds of things we've been talking about for the past day and a half. So the rise of informal learning. I would also say there's kind of the what I'm terming the underspecified college degree. So what does your college degree really mean? What does it mean? It is important. You have to get a college degree to gain entrance into the profession. But it just, as I said here, it just represents it represents knowledge as an abstraction. And as I said, it's far removed from actual learning. So if you have a degree in Spanish, does that mean you speak Spanish? I hope so. What level? But it doesn't really tell you at what level you speak Spanish. People are often surprised that it is heavily kind of focused on literature, culture, different things. So from a point of view of an employer, the degree doesn't always tell you what you can do, right? People with the same degree, this is a pretty obvious thing. Students who graduate from the same program and who have the same degree do not have the same skill set. They may not have taken exactly the same courses either. So I think that there is a need for more granularity. From the point of view of the profession, what does that mean? Granularity, specificity. What can you do with your degree? There's another problem here when you get into a profession. It's not just foreign languages, it's any profession. You have a resume or a CV, right? Well, again, from the employer's point of view, how do I know this stuff if you're really telling the truth? Because who writes a CV? You do. Okay, and the problem is, as I said, it's hard to validate this information. Even when you have, you know, these 3 or 4 people that you say can be your references, there's a lot of information. They're basically character references. They don't know whether you actually took this course and accomplished this goal. So they often, employers, for principals, let's say, can't verify your skills because they themselves don't have those skills, right? They lack the competence to see whether you can actually speak the foreign language. They're hiring you to teach and so forth. So this is leading, so I do think there are big problems in professional development. And in that little promo that I showed you about open education, it starts with the problems and then it leads to some of the solutions. So here are the problems with education, and open education can solve some of those problems. Well, part of open education, the professional development side of open education, is now being called badges. And I know people think Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts when you use the word badges. That's okay, because that's exactly what where it came from. This little icon, which means that you have achieved something, that you have a particular skill or competence. Okay. So badges are basically an alternative to the system that I've been describing, which has been driven by formal learning and institutions, and is more kind of this this groundswell of open educators who are trying to give people who are trying to recognize informal learning as an important part of professional development, and also credentialing. It makes it part of then your credentialing. So obviously, just like Girl Scout, Boy Scout badges, it's a visual representation. So icons. Think of icons in the internet or the digital context. And this is important. It is being given to you by an agency, such as Coral, or a University of Texas, or whatever. So we can grant badges, and it's verifiable. We're going to show you how an employer says, "Oh, really?" But who is Coral? They can click on this and they can get all the information about who we are, what we do. It's also verifiable evidence of achievement. So you say that you have, you can use a particular authoring system to create an OER. Show me. Click on the link and it'll take you to essentially what is a professional portfolio. You're going to learn how to create your portfolio and then have evidence to show other people. So it's basically taking your resume and turbocharging it, right? Giving all kinds of things that you can show to people who will be interested, not only in future employers, but also your colleagues, to show them what you have and what you can do. And finally, it has a very flexible level of granularity, so you can take a seminar on a general construct of, let's say, proficiency, linguistic proficiency. What is that? And then you can even drill down farther to, we may give some, well, there are different kinds of proficiencies, but let's just take oral proficiency, right? Or interactional competence, or we can break that down into lots of different badges. Okay, so that's the basic idea of badges. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, who will show you, this is not just choral, this is big. This is big money is behind this endeavor. The Gates Foundation is pouring millions of dollars into this. Mozilla, a lot of organizations, because actually it came out of the digital community. The digital community, if you have a degree in computer science and you're being you're a graphic artist, people who are hiring you, they're not all that impressed by your college degree. They're not impressed by how many hours, seat time, an institution. They want to know what you can do. Okay, so let me turn it over to Rachel, who will tell you then about the infrastructure, the guts of the system, and how we're actually going to make this work.
Okay, so yeah, as Carl said, I'm going to give you some examples of badges and kind of give you an explanation so you can have a more concrete understanding of what they are. Digital badges are something that originated online. They've often been associated with gaming and social gaming sites. Sometimes it's just for fun. Foursquare, I don't know if some of you are familiar with this, but it's kind of a social game that where you take your phone and you check into places in the real world, and then that gives you some status in this virtual community. So that's one company that started doing badges pretty early. Khan Academy, are you familiar with Khan Academy? It's one of the first open education sites, really. I mean, one of the first sites that really took this idea of let's create this engaging instructional content and put it online and make it open for everyone. It's mostly focused on math and science. There's hundreds, thousands probably of short instructional videos that are I think very heavily used these days by teachers in K-12 to teach just kind of basic math and science concepts. But they started offering badges. They have sort of a badge system, and this is something you'll hear about too, are these badge systems where it's not just one badge, but it can be a series of badges, so you can level up in the system. As you grow, as you gain more skills and achievements, your role can change. So they have this kind of astronomical series of badges, meteorites and moons, and that's their badge types. But then they have actual badges that, there can be an unlimited number of badges. You can set up a badge for anything. They have badge for, quickly and correctly answer 5 skill problems in a row. Picking up steam is the name of that badge. Making progress. Good habits. Thumbs up. So, I mean, you can really make a badge on any level. And what's starting to happen now is now on Facebook, there's a little widget for the Khan Academy where your badges can also show up on your Facebook page. Okay, so that now we're getting towards something like open badges. So the really exciting thing right now is that Mozilla is developing an infrastructure technology, basically, that provides a way to share badges across all different websites and all different communities. So these badges can follow you where you go. They're stored in a central location, or the information about the badges is stored in a separate location, and then different websites can pull that information in. So I'm going to give you just to I'm going to give you a little live demo of this, but first, this is the Mozilla site. you can go to. It is in beta right now, so it's not completely launched yet, but you can already go there and you can follow the instructions to become a badge earner. And what they have is this concept of a backpack. So you can get an account on this site where you can collect your badges. So when somebody awards you a badge, if Coral awards you a badge or your teacher awards you a badge, you can collect that badge and then store it in this backpack. And then that way it can be shared with other websites. This kind of gives a visual of that. The earner puts their badge in the backpack, and then it can be shared out to be displayed maybe on a personal website, social networking, WordPress, job sites. That's kind of the vision for the future, is that you can have these badges really be part of your online persona. And this is just kind of the larger ecosystem. So the Mozilla enables badge issuers, which can be institutions, it could be individuals. It's really open. It's open to anybody can issue a badge for anything. There's no sort of requirements to becoming a badge issuer. Anybody can create a badge. I mean, there's guidelines online, and I think this is going to become much easier as tools are being developed right now that will make it very easy for anybody to create their own badge. And then award it to somebody who has completed the material necessary to earn that badge. So that shows kind of the larger picture there. And now I do want to just give you a quick, so you can see what this really looks like. So let's see, I've already, wait, let me look at my other, oops.
Just to fill the space here as she's queuing things up. So badges, this idea has already been adopted by universities as kind of a supplement to the regular system of teaching a course and getting grades. The University of California, Davis, for example, which is like an ag school, again, they give courses, they have their courses, but in addition, they realized that there were competencies, actual skills that they wanted to document. And so they're doing it in addition. They're issuing badges in addition to their grades and diplomas and so forth. So it's not either or. People, lots of universities are picking this up, as well as school systems. So, okay.
Okay, so I've already actually set up a kind of a test account on here. So I've already set up a backpack. The first thing you would do if you click on this Visit Your Mozilla Badge Backpack, that'll take you through the sign-up process so you can create a backpack. But then you can get started and actually earn your first badge. So it gives you a little bit of information, background about badges. It's basically a little tutorial that you're taking here. Okay, and then you have to answer a few questions. So true or false, learning today happens everywhere, not just in classrooms. What do you think? True? That's right. Okay, next. True or false, you can understand a person's skill set simply by looking at their degree. False. Okay. True or false, resumes are validated and evidence-based. False. Okay. Okay, so congratulations, you've just earned the Badges 101 badge. So, exactly. There's lots of badges about badges, actually. That's sort of the first wave. Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to push this to my backpack. And it all works. Let's see. What did I? it was asking for my email, right? Okay.
You will be filling this out with your email, not with Coral's. Because you're going to be launching your own badges backpack.
Okay. And so then you want to actually accept it because somebody could award you a badge that you're not really interested in having. So you get to choose whether or not you want to accept it. But if you want to accept it, you just say, okay. And then we can go to the backpack and take a look at how it looks. Okay. And I am already logged in here. So now once you've earned a badge, it shows up here. And then there's this, you could just drag it into a group. So if I wanted to put, you can name your group whatever. So if you have a group for language teaching badges, you could group those badges together. I mean, you can curate, you can organize this how you like. Let me go back here. And then also just wanted to show you if you click on a badge. So a badge essentially is kind of two things. A badge is an image file, just a plain old image file, but embedded in that file is this metadata about what it means. So the name of the badge, the URL of the issuer of the badge, the organization, the details, description, criteria. So it links to exactly what you had to do to earn that badge. And then the really interesting thing is it's optional, but an issuer can also provide a link to that evidence that shows that you completed. So if it's a blog post or if it's a portfolio or if it's whatever it is that you produced in order to earn that badge, that can be linked from that badge. So somebody can see exactly, what you did. So that's the really cool thing, and that's that's where the technology comes in, is baking. They call it baking the badge, where you take the image and you embed the metadata. And then it actually just works like any image file. Like somebody could actually send you an attachment of that image file. You can upload, like if you look here, there's an option to choose a file. That could be just an image file that you upload, and it goes into your backpack with all of that information in it. So, there any questions? Yes?
I was actually wondering, and I saw there was a button to click there to own the badge.
Uh-huh.
I can imagine if you've got, let's say, 200 badges, you want to highlight the ones that show your real professional development. You don't really want to tell people, hey, look, I understand badges after you've got
Right. Right. So there was a comment from the audience about the disown this badge. And it is very helpful, because if at some point you don't really feel like advertising to the world that you've moved beyond this badges 101 and you have a higher level of achievement, you might want to get rid of these ones that were, with your lower levels.
It's like a resume too, because when you start out, your resume is going to change over time. It's your job to curate your own resume. Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking to the mic, so
sorry,
I don't have to.
I keep forgetting we need a mic. So the comment is that it's your job to curate your own resume, badges that are going to be part of your CV. Yeah, and so as you become, your professional development changes over time, yeah, a lot of stuff you don't really want to highlight anymore. In fact, you might just want to get rid of.
Can you hide badges?
Can you hide badges?
Skill sets that have nothing to do.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, and I'm trying to see. I think in the group there's somewhere where you can set it to hide. Okay, so yeah, I mean you can. I know you can hide some of these groups. I'm not seeing immediately how to do it, but you can choose which ones you want to share and which ones you want to hide. Yeah.
So again, if you're applying for jobs and you have 3 different employers, you can share different groups of badges to those employers. You don't have to share all of your backpack, so that's something else.
Okay, I want to show you another site that is making a lot of use of badges, these open badges for learning in particular, and that's P2PU, Peer-to-Peer University. Whoops, that's not it. I think it's probably .org. Okay, on P2PU, this is an open learning platform. Basically, anybody can create a course about any topic, and anybody can join that course. And I just want to show you a few examples. They've arranged it. There's a couple of interesting communities here. There's the School of Ed, they call it, which are all education-related courses. And then there's also the School of Open, which focuses on open education. I know that there's a lot of material that's being developed right now for the School of Open. That's going to be a growing, they just launched it very recently. But I just want to show you, and actually there's different types of courses in P2PU. It's not all, some of them are courses that are led by an expert. Yeah, I don't know why. Some of them are courses that are led by an expert, and you sign up for it and has a start date and an end date, kind of a more traditional path. And then there's what they call study groups, which is just somebody who wants to learn about something, and they invite people to join them, and they just work together as a study group. That's usually a beginning and end time. And then they have this concept of challenges. So a challenge is something that they set up, somebody sets up a challenge with a set of tasks, and anybody can complete that challenge at any time, and it just stays up there. I don't know if the ones I wanted to show are in the School of Ed, so let me see if I can get back to the home page. Okay, well, let's look at this one. So this is I believe, a study group that's going on right now. This is kind of the general interface. You have tasks here, and then discussion going on at the bottom. You can see the people that are involved in it, what type it is. It's a study group. And then down at the bottom, I think, let's see, somewhere you'll also see the badges that you can earn. I'm not seeing that right now. But I did notice that for some of these in the School of Ed, they will also offer a certificate of participation in addition to a badge. So an educator who needs to earn CPE credits could use this certificate, could get a certificate. Another example, okay, I'm not seeing the other one that I wanted to show. I have links to them in my presentation, but you can poke around. The main thing that I wanted to show is just this interface. And you can go in and check it out, and you know, it really, I like the way that they lay out the tasks, and then they have the discussion around those tasks. And again, it is a lot of, if it's a challenge, it'll have a number of hours associated with it too, and then you can earn the badges. I'm not seeing one that has the badges. Here it says, you know, one badge is available. So yeah, this is okay. This is what I wanted to find, is one that's really a challenge. So it says, you know, time it should take to complete 2 hours. You can start the challenge. You can always, anybody can take the challenge at any time, and then you can earn badges with the challenge. And those are open badges that can be displayed in your Mozilla backpack. Okay, so I'm going to skip through. These are some of the challenges that I wanted to show that I couldn't find all of them. There is a course on OER in the K-12 classroom that I thought some of you might be interested in. And, you know, this is all coming. This hasn't really hit yet, but there was as Carl said, there's been grants given to a number of different projects ranging from K-12 to higher ed to continuing ed, huge range of projects that are all have gotten money to develop badge systems and to develop and share tools that can be used to create badge systems. And those are all, they'll be releasing those in 2013. I think there's going to be a whole slew of these systems around. So, you know, you'll be on the cutting edge there when you already have your backpack and are ready to go out and start earning. Okay, so shall we? Now we're going to move on to our badges.
So we've been, as I said, going around and giving people the vision of open education, and a lot of people have told me the same thing. They're very excited about this. They don't know how to do it. So there's a gap between open education and all this goodwill, and there's a skills gap. And people want to implement it either in their classroom or they want to start adding on to OERs, but they're not quite sure how to do it. So we constitute right here, right today, a collaborative effort, a community of practice. And so we thought, well, the whole point of badges is to draw people into the community and help them start to fill that skills gap. So we're developing, based on this symposium, to extend it, a couple of challenges. Rachel just told you about the idea of challenge. And for these challenges, you're going to receive badges. The badges will be in your backpack because built into this will be part of, you'll get a badge for, you know, developing your backpack. So our first badge is, of course, the Power of Openness attendee. Now, in the continuing education kind of notion of credits, TEA gives you credits based on seat time. And we do that a lot of in education, hours, how many hours, this was a 3-hour course and so forth. That tells you very little about how much you learned, right? So I have people who come up to me at conferences, and you have to sign a piece of paper which says, I attended your talk. But I learned nothing, but I attended your talk, and so, right? So hours is not such a great measure of knowledge, and so what we're trying to do is promote the idea of badges. So yes, for attendee, well, it's more than just seat time. If you begin the challenge, and by the way, now you're looking at the website that we've been developing, so we will give you the URL and you can just start. It's linked now. So here is the power. We didn't show this to you yesterday, right? But this is our grand finale, folks. So we have, you've already registered, and remember we were telling you about all the materials, so all the PowerPoints, including this PowerPoint about badges, is all up there. And now we have this other link called Challenges. So you visit our site, you click on Challenges, and this is what you get. Getting started with open badges. The first thing we want you to do is read this really short article by EDUCAUSE about 7 things you should know about badges. It gives you an overview about the concept because we went through it very quickly. Okay. And then we're going to get you to sign up for your own badge, open badge backpack. How to open up an account in Mozilla. That's really important because that's the whole infrastructure to do this. And then you're going to take that little test. I think you're going to do fine, right? So low anxiety to get your first badge. As soon as you do that, in Mozilla, you're going to do exactly what it says. It'll prompt you through your Gmail account or your email account, and then you drag your Mozilla badge there. But not only that, we're going to give you, if you do that successfully, we're going to give you a Coral attendee badge. You didn't just sit here and attend, you've learned something and you can demonstrate it. So the point being, it's pretty easy to do that, right? The next step, reflect on the symposium. And you've been here, you've been thinking about this. We asked you a couple questions. We want you to leave a reply for all the other people here. okay? And because this is a collaborative blog, you can comment on other people's posts. If you do that, we will give you a badge, okay? Pretty easy. But also informative because people have been thinking about things that they haven't said. Okay, and notice there's a deadline. The deadline is at the end of this month. So today is the 10th. You have a couple of weeks to do this. So that's all you need to do. Visit Mozilla website, open your backpack, and then this blog is already set up. Leave a reply, and you will get your badge. You're on your way to being an open educator. That's the first step. The next challenge. The next challenge is a little bit more complicated. So we're calling you a collaborator badge. The whole point today has been talking about collaboration. We realize we need you to join with us successfully, and to do that, click on the Begin Challenge. Introduce yourself to the group. You now constitute the group, and including, are we working with people online? And our online community as well. So you introduce yourself to the group, and real quickly, a little paragraph. Just who are you? You're coming from different places, different languages, different levels, your institution, so forth. Next step, and that's by September 14th. So we're giving you plenty of time. Next step, curriculum assessment. We're assuming that you teach different languages, and we want you to kind of think about your curriculum. By now, you'll be into, classes will have started. You will have already started to think, that wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I should have done something else. I should have done this differently. You will already be thinking about your curriculum. So we want you to do a short curriculum assessment. What areas, this is September, and I can already tell I need to improve on things. What areas may need improvement in my current curriculum? Okay, so if you scroll down, you'll see that we want you to post. These are essentially postings. We want you to post, again, 1 to 2 paragraphs about your curriculum. Where does it need improvement? Well, that leads you to the next step, which of course is searching for an OER that will help you improve your curriculum. And Rachel gave you an overview of all the tools you can use, CC Search, to help you find that perfect OER to fill the gap. And you're going to, again, post your search. How was it? How was it for you? Post your search by October 12th. Tell us what tools worked for you in the search and what didn't work so well. How did you find your OER? And we're going to be learning from each other through this whole process, right? The next step is actually using that OER in the classroom. It does not have to be the big, we've been talking about big OERs. It can be a very little OER that focuses on one particular goal. Okay, so we're not talking about your entire curriculum. Think more in terms of a lesson, implementing something small. So I think it would work best to, as I said, focus on a couple of lessons, try it out, see how it goes with your students. Ask your students informally, what do they think of it, and you also will tell us what you think of it. But we want you to tell us how you're implementing it for that step 4. What are you doing with the OER? How are you using it in your classroom? And that's by November 2nd. By November 30th, evaluate the results. So give us just a quick evaluation. How did it go? If you go through all those steps and you post because part of this is talking to other people, right? When you finish, we will give you a badge as a collaborator, a choral collaborator, okay? Now this constitutes quite a bit of work, actually. Making an assessment, finding an OER, implementing it and evaluating it, and all the time talking amongst yourselves. That requires a lot of hours, and we will give you CPE credits. We will give you through TEA, through to Texas Educational Agency. We will give you credits, but in addition, we will give you this thing called a badge, okay, which will be uploaded in your backpack. You can click on it, and you'll see the agency, and you'll see evidence of all the steps you've gone through. Okay, so you've accumulated now a couple of badges. The last badge here this is the end of the semester. we think of semesters, right, at the university level, the end of then the fall. And now you have a story to tell. And you know where we're leading with this. So here you can go to Voices for Openness. If you click on that link, Voices for Openness in Language Learning, aha, it takes you back to, we're very sneaky, we have an agenda. It takes you back to this website. And here we just want you to go add your voice. Okay, now you talk to people about your experience of using an OER in the classroom. How did it go? And as I said, you don't have to have a tremendous amount of expertise for other people who will be identifying with you wherever you are in this big ecology that we keep talking about. And very importantly, we want you to send us a picture of yourself. Okay, but that's not until later on. You don't. If you have a story that you want to tell us right now, you're ready to go. Go ahead. All right, but we want you to actually try to earn all these badges. The first two badges are in a sequence: the attendee and the collaborator badge. Okay, so that's the big picture. People keep telling us that they need a little bit more assistance than just the vision. This all sounds great. How do you do this? After you go through these steps, I think you're going to start to we're going to help you find communities to kind of continue this professional development, because there is an infrastructure out there, and we'll help build this community. Okay, let's go back to the yes. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question as a current grad student. What is going to happen to this data? Is this something that Coral or perhaps other disciplines could study? So maybe looking at the qualitative data that you're collecting, I'm wondering what's going to happen to that.
Yeah, okay, that's a question. I have a question from the audience from a graduate student who says, this is a really interesting pilot study. Well, you didn't say pilot study, but I'm thinking pilot study. Yes, exactly. Badges is a brand new concept. The infrastructure is still in beta testing, but it's really going to hit pretty soon. And as one of our slides, it gives you, it's now hitting the educational press. So the Chronicle for Higher Education ran an article. Ed Week ran an article. The New York Times ran an article. So it's about ready to hit. And it is much more developed in other communities than it certainly is in foreign languages. In foreign languages, it hasn't hit at all. And so that's part of Coral's job, is to promote OERs and open education. So we're going to try to take the lead on that. But you're absolutely right in that this could make a great qualitative study for trying to form. So we're starting it here. We're starting it here and now, the foreign language open community, and this is one.
I just wanted to mention too that there's actually the Haystack and the groups that put together the grants for the badges for learning. Their latest grant proposal call for proposals is now open, and it's to do with research. So basically, they're looking for researchers who want to study badges. So that's going on right now if you're a researcher and you have an idea. It's this digital, this is the link, dmlcompetition.net. And you'll see if you go to that site, the first thing they have is the details on their research competition. They've had several different competitions for badge systems and then the badge system infrastructure, and now they're focusing on research.
Yeah, the Haystack is out of Duke University, and it's a collaboration of many different universities. So they already have online projects that have been going on for a couple of years, and so they're trying to badgeify the projects. And yeah, they're asking people to come up with research ideas, so they will give you money to conduct research on this. Any other questions? So we'll have a Q&A about this. What are your Oh yeah, actually, yeah, excuse me. We have even more goodies. So here at Coral, we're trying to badgeify some of our products. when we started reading about badges and thinking about it, we realized that we already have a foreign language teaching methods course that's all online. And we've been receiving emails from people all over the world saying, this is a great course. I wish I could get credit for it. And a light bulb went off, and we said, of course, we would love to give you credit. And now we have a system to award some kind of credit. Not only can we give you these ongoing CPEs, these things that the Texas Education Agency gives, but we also will give a badge. And the great thing about our this method site is it's kind of constructed in terms of a teaching portfolio. Most teachers are familiar with the notion of portfolio assessment. So at the end they go through a pedagogical sequence, they go through lessons, they take quizzes, but at the end we say, show us, apply these principles to something. Come up, create a lesson plan or create an activity and tell us at the end how you have implemented these criteria or these ideas. So there's a concrete exemplar that shows what you have learned. So we're taking that idea, and if you go through this, you create the material, you upload it, and we vet it, and we say, this meets our criteria. We'll give you a badge. Okay. So these are, and not only that, but you have other people who've done the same who are showing you how to do it, because this is an actual course. Graduate students here at UT took it, and so you can look at their examples, and then you take it in your own direction. So if you go back, Rachel, to the home page for this site, you'll see that we have modules in all kinds of areas. So in speaking, reading, writing, the basic skills in languages, pragmatics, technology, assessment, all those areas. You don't have to go in any particular order. It's nonlinear. So if you think, well, I'm pretty good with classroom management. I don't need any help in that. But I don't know what pragmatics is. What is that? I want to find that out. So you can jump around. You can make this fit according to your needs. So that's one area that we're trying to badgeify. And we'll be giving a talk at ACTFL about our assessment badge. We're giving a badge for assessment. We hope to have that up and running. The next, that would be the badge that you would be getting, let's say, for assessment. See, cute little icon. And now we have another site that we are in the process of badgeifying, the Spanish Corpus Proficiency Level Training. Ooh, that's a mouthful, SPT. And the idea is to help people understand the concept of proficiency and the different ways that we talk about proficiency in terms of grammatical accuracy, in terms of vocabulary use, in terms of interactional patterns, or conversation management as it's termed here. This is essentially a corpus of about 40 different speakers, I believe, arrayed then according to proficiency levels. So absolute novice all the way up to, I think it ends with superior, or at least what they're terming, I guess, heritage speakers. So all of this is in Spanish, though, right? So this is really focused on Spanish teachers. And it was developed here at UT by Del Koike, and you can choose, you can see the learners here. You can choose a learner, and then each of them are answering topics. And you go through and you compare the learners, and you rate them, and you try to place them where they are on the proficiency continuum. So we're giving badges for people who are using this site to actually show their growing understanding, their knowledge of the construct of proficiency. This does not mean that you can conduct you are not an OPI credential, this oral proficiency interview. In order to be credentialed, you have to go through ACTFL. That costs a lot of money. We are not set up to do that. But you will really understand proficiency. By the way, since I have this up here, you can also use this with your students, so they understand how language develops, because it's really about developmental sequences. Okay, so those are the several things that we're working on, the badge areas. with this proficiency site, this teaching method site, and then the whole general notion of how do you become an open educator in foreign languages. We want to give badges for that. Okay, so I'm interested in any other questions. Devin raised a good point about, gee, the research possibilities. Any other? Are you all going to do this with us? Yes.
I plan on doing it with you, but I have a pragmatic question. How, as a K-12 educator,
Could I ask you actually, because could you come be the first person to come and use the microphone? Okay, just to break the ice here. So I'm getting a little tired of being the ventriloquist here and going,
Well,
what they are saying is.
Yeah, as a K-12 educator who is very interested in doing this, how would the badges translate to a TEA recognized credit? And that may have been the piece that I didn't hear.
Yeah, this is something that we're working out right now. I mean, we recently contacted TEA and talked with them about how to award credits for online work, and they kind of told us it was up to us to define, how we define that, but we do have the ability to do that. So what we need to do is translate it into the number of hours we think it would take to complete that task. And so, hopefully, eventually they'll recognize the badges and accept the badges, but for now, anytime we offer a badge, we also want to have an alternative for somebody. If they want to request the certificate, we could send them the certificate. We're still trying to figure out the hours issue and like how many hours would translate to each of our badges.
Because I was thinking from my experience, it's always easier to work with the regional service centers like Region 13 in the Austin area. They're a whole lot more amenable to change than TEA.
Yeah, that's a really good, we have met with them some, and we haven't talked to them about this new idea though, so I think that's great advice. I think we should do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to follow that point up too. So we have gotten permission from TEA. They have given us, we have been deputized or officialized or whatever. When they told us, well, we don't know that much about this new world called open education or informal learning, so it's up to you to tell us how many hours. And we thought, oh, that's great. Wow. And the point being that, okay, if you have you're required to have 60 hours for the year, this is going to be a big chunk of this because this is much more in-depth than going to, let's say, in-service workshop. We're trying to actually what we could do is turn around and say, how much time is it taking? We have an idea in our mind how much time it may take you to do your own curriculum assessment, but people may decide to really do a very complete one. So all of this is kind of, this is a pilot study, so we're seeing how many hours this will be for people to judge it in the future. Yeah. The other thing we have to think about is once we put these things on the web, yes, we're here in Austin, Texas, but there are people who contact us all over the world for this teaching method site. In fact, we have another, just a couple weeks ago, we received an email from education professor in Denmark, and she said, I really like this site, but I'd like to take it apart, and I want to use it in my own courses in education. She's in the School of Education at her university in Denmark, and she's got all kinds of ideas. So we have to think about education locally, but also the badges for education locally, but also kind of globally. So yeah, we have another question, but I also want to say to the people online, we're taking your queries too. So if you want to, we have a moderator watching and participating. So we haven't heard from you today. Okay, so Wen Hua is raising a really good question. Well, what if the quality is not particularly good? Do you still get a badge? No, you don't. You still have to meet the criteria for the, Rachel was using the issuer, the word issuer. Coral will issue the badge. So if you do not meet our criteria for a badge, then we will not give it to you. So there are still standards. And so yeah, we will have rubrics for badges. You have to know kind of what level of proficiency or what level of mastery we're expecting you to reach. So yeah, we should have some kind of guidelines or rubrics for that. Exactly. And they'll be posted for both learners and evaluators. So everybody should know. There shouldn't be any kind of ambiguity or guessing. Now, we've kept the bar fairly low. For everybody should be able to take part in this initial badge, the sequence that we just introduced to you. The open badges for open educators in foreign languages. And we did that purposely. We think that everybody, really what we're trying to do is promote collaboration here amongst ourselves. So, but there will be, badges can range for something very, very simple to something very complicated and complex that you need to spend a lot of time in. But that's a very good point. All badges should have identified criteria, and there will be some kind of vetting or evaluation.
I'm still trying to figure out how to word this, so you might need to help me out. You're very good at doing that. I guess what I wanted to know is that I think coming from like a gaming background, and I can see where this comes from, is that there seems to be in badges, I mean, showing off what you've received with a badge is great. We do that in the gaming world. But I think there's also a reward system that needs to be really advertised with these badges, in that it's not just I get a badge on my open backpack, but there's some sort of actual thing that I get with it, like access to this online community, or a recommendation from somebody, or something tactile. I mean, heck, I can even see for-profit businesses offering money to do these things, because I see how it works for you all to get people to engage and do these things, but I guess I was wondering if you could just explain a little bit more of how it benefits the end user, more so than just having a badge to show off. And then also to tack on to that is, at Coral, do you have any concern about managing like the quality of these? Because I kind of foresee this as being like the app world, like there's a badge for everything, and so really that means only like 100 of them are any good, Not to be a hater, but.
Yeah, okay, that's what the central, I would say one of the issues is quality control.
Yeah.
And when Rachel said that anybody can issue a badge, that means true. In this infrastructure, an individual, I can give you a badge because I like you, and let's, it can be silly. But the quality of the badge will depend on the agency. So there's going to be a difference between saying, I learned about cheeses on Fred's cheese page, and now I'm an expert in cheeses, rather than some kind of professional organization that will give you a badge. So there's already built into the system who is issuing the badge, right? I mean, there's a hierarchy in education too. So there's a hierarchy. Some badges will be issued by prestigious organizations, and some aren't. Right, so there's already that built into the system. About the reward system, some of these are kind of intrinsically rewarding because you want to gather skills, and what people are telling us is that they need to be able to show their skills to employers. That's where I was coming from, your resume, that this helps you show your skills in a way that's really effective, because you can suddenly send all this information to a future employer, and they simply click on these links and they can verify, okay, there really truly is an organization called COE. I don't know how to pronounce it, Curl, whatever, but it exists. It's at the University of Texas and so forth. And they can even access then like the criteria. So it's very specific, and that's where I was coming from, this underspecified college degree.
Right, going back to like what you originally said, like they want to know what you've done, not
they really want to know what you can do.
What you can do. Yeah.
So if you're a principal and you're hiring a teacher, say, great, you can speak this language and so forth, but what can you do as a teacher? What particular skill sets do you have that you can use in the teaching of this language that maybe somebody else doesn't have? Okay. So it raises the bar in a way.
Thanks.
question about issuing badges and working with the Mozilla people. Do they evaluate the way you create the tasks associated with the badge, or they don't care what you do to issue a badge?
Yeah, this is open, and the question too about the proliferation of badges, and you know, this is just like when we were talking about OERs yesterday. These are open badges, so they're really just providing the infrastructure for sharing. There's no restrictions on what you actually do with that. Now, for something like P2PU, like if you're in a community, the community develops standards for the badges, so your badge has to be actually accepted by the community before P2PU will let you publish that badge in their platform. So it really is kind of up to the issuer to develop their own criteria for what is a good badge and a bad badge, or you know what meets their criteria, and they will create a badge for it. Does that answer?
Quick question from online. Can people try one task multiple times? Or can you?
Yeah, theoretically you can try the task, keep going at it. So if you, let's say, for our teaching methods site, for example, and one of the tasks is to create an oral assessment, right? We have one of those activities following particular guidelines. And they send us a 3-page document. It looks like a test, but it doesn't meet 3 of the 7 criteria. It will be rejected, and you should get feedback, and then you have to do it again. And so certainly built into that is this idea that you can take a task to meet the challenge, right?
Okay, and the next one's not really a question, but there's a lot of discussion online about systematizing of badges and creating hierarchy of badges, which you already talked about.
Right.
And I guess I just wanted to comment on that. I think what you're working towards people understanding is just like in the creation of an OER, participation and involvement of the public is going to bring import and validation to these badges. So I don't know if you wanted to talk more about that.
Yeah, I think some badges we'll try out, and we'll see that they're a failure. Either people don't, we think there's a perceived need, but there really isn't, so that might be an issue. I mean, we won't those badges will go away. The idea of systematizing it, there is no system yet, so it's a kind of a self-organizing system. Once it gets going, you get feedback from the community. Some badges will be, I think, will be very popular and some won't. Some badges may be a little bit too complicated. I mean, we'll figure this out, but that's exactly right. We will get feedback from people who want the badges.
I just want to comment on that too with badge systems. I, for one, was completely overwhelmed when I started reading about badge systems because, you know, if you're really planning it out and you want to have different levels and different, you know, how big of a chunk, like how big of a chunk do you use for a badge, and how many badges and roles, and I mean, there's just so. It's just a big open question. How do you create these systems? And now that people have really started thinking this through, primarily because of that competition that's going on, that DML competition, you can actually read organizations who are implementing this are starting to post back like what their experience has been like in trying to develop these systems, and what their process has been like. And I think our process right now is just to start with something small and just try it out and see how it goes. I think you know, other organizations are really planning it all out and developing very, you know, complex systems. So yeah, we don't really have any good models right now. There's no models out there, so that's what we're all trying to figure out.
I do want to say too, I keep saying that this is a new idea, but a lot of people are really excited about it. Universities are trying to implement this. ACTFL is having a discussion about this. So I was talking, one of our voices for openness is the new president of ACTFL, Tony Tyson, and so she sees a lot of potential in this. ACTFL, we would hope, would take a leadership role in this, but it doesn't have to be from just the top down. This is kind of a grassroots movement, so it's going to come from all directions. Any of you can be empowered to, by the way, then at this point is important to make, any of you can issue a badge. For example, Accesso, I was thinking, can issue badges. If you want, and Amy was telling me after our panel discussion that she would like to ask the public to send in, the Spanish teachers to send in ideas. So if you think of Accesso as kind of a template, there are different kinds of topics, there are different kinds of activities. So she said she would like to kind of issue this call for submissions to her. She would vet the quality of it, or she'd be in contact with you, and then eventually perhaps they would post it. It would become part of Accesso. Well, you could badgeify that process and give them some kind of a reward. Not only do they get credit for contributing to your whatever it is, your corpus or your, in this case, pedagogical materials, but you also get this thing called a badge, which formalizes it and uses this Mozilla infrastructure and so forth. I'm just saying, it's just an idea. Right.
I'll use the microphone now. I was thinking the whole time, actually, who is going to be evaluating the work just locally for the choral badges? Because I'm thinking it's a global thing, and there's going to be more and more input, and I'm wondering if it's going to be grad students of foreign language education, is it going to be the community, and who's going to be evaluating?
Good question. Yeah, because we thought this is opening the floodgates, and if we put something, if we badgeify, if we have badges for language professionals, foreign language professionals, and we have millions of users, oh no. Yes, we thought about that. So some of the badges, it's not like giving feedback on an essay, let's say, which is very time intensive. We should then develop kinds of challenges that we can quickly see whether the people meet that challenge, where they have kind of mastered things. So we're trying to figure out ways, smart ways, clever ways, where we can evaluate things quickly in other words, if we have a small team, we cannot evaluate thousands of entries, right? So we're thinking about that. The other thing is then to crowdsource this, right? So again, try to ask a lot of our colleagues around the country to join us in this effort. Identify people who have various expertise. So if it's a badge that deals with the Spanish language, we certainly want Spanish experts, Spanish speakers helping us. If it's about a technical issue, because there are badges for people who want to learn more about the technical aspects of OER, we need a technical staff person to develop that. So yeah, we've been thinking about putting together teams of people. It's always collaborative. Teams of people who can help with the evaluation process. But part of that's also designing the actual challenge itself to not make it too cumbersome and too time-consuming. Okay, well, these are questions. I mean, what do you? I'm interested in your comments or your reactions to this, because this is new, right? Is this? What do you think about this, Jared?
I like this concept of badges, but I'm a little concerned that the badge I give, or the badge for, I don't know, Spanish 1, vocabulary on the, versus that person's Spanish 1.
Exactly.
So there's two different badges that exist out there, and where's the validity, where's the weight?
So the question, or the comment rather, is, or the worry, is about this proliferation of badges. You can give the same badge. The example was if I give a badge for the acquisition of vocabulary in my Spanish class, can somebody else give, it looks like a similar badge but has very different criteria? You're right. That is probably going to happen. I wouldn't say it's a possibility, because if you have an open system, there's going to be redundancy and there's going to be messiness. And this is where people who really study open systems will say, oh, well, this is ecology, and ecology's messy, and evolution's messy. And that's truly what they say. So I think you're right. I think that's going to be part of the system. but it's a self-organizing system. So people want a badge that is issued by an organization that has some kind of power behind it or some prestige, because that badge will likely be more important to them in the long run than the other badges. So
I would say too that the criteria is embedded in the badge. So somebody comparing the two badges can say, oh, and the criteria is right there. So, you know.
So right. So superficially, it could have the exact same title, but again, you can click, because the infrastructure allows you to click on it and get all the metadata, and they should be it should be easy to compare. Was my starting point. If you're looking at a resume, two resumes can use the same wording, but if you start to drill down and verify, oh, they don't mean the same thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's coming. Currently, there's no good place to go and find what badges are out there. I know that's something Mozilla is planning. That's coming. And also, I should say that the display function, you know, that's still in development too. I mean, we're starting issuing badges here, but they go into your backpack, and who's going to see them? Well, probably nobody right now. But that's changing. It's changing very fast. And you know, it really is about these communities, and Coral eventually will have a place. We haven't, you know, quite figured out how it's going to look, but you know, we want, if we have our methods course and we have people contributing content to the methods course and earning badges, that's a community feature to the methods course, and those badges would be part of that community infrastructure. So it's all coming, but it's not all here yet. And we will, if you earn your badge now, then we'll save that. We'll always know that, and so then if we do end up creating community, and we can show it later, so it doesn't go away.
Just I guess as a wet blanket logistical question, how do you know the person applying for the badge is the person in actuality? Like, couldn't I just apply for a badge and give everyone here my badges? Like, I'd earn them all, but under different names, and just basically redistribute them under those fictitious names or real names.
There are some, I don't know, you can go to the Mozilla site and read. There's lots of discussions about that aspect, that security, you know, verification, validity, you know. I don't know exactly how easy it is to game the system. I mean, I think they're still trying to figure that out to try to make systems less. But yeah, I mean, the one thing is that there's always evidence. I mean, a badge is embedded with that learner's name and the particular evidence provided by that learner. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of scenarios where you could game the system, but they do relate back to the host. The issuer has to have something that Mozilla can verify with on the host website. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, but since it's just an email address at this point, it could be potentially very easy to game the system. And what I would say is, again, in open systems, people will always find ways to game the system. Okay, and that's part of the messiness that I mean, it's like good and the bad of the internet. We're talking about cognitive surplus, like the yesterday. Well, cognitive surplus is neutral as a term. It's not always good, right? Cognitive surplus can be terrorism. People have time on their hands, they build bombs. They don't always build educational products. Okay, so the comment is, well, you could improve the security by having an email address that comes from an institution such as .edu, so universityoftexas.edu or Baylor.edu and so forth. Right, and that would be more secure than just saying a Gmail or Yahoo or something like that. Yeah, yeah. I would say to that, I use my Gmail account now. I mean, more and more people use Gmail account. I mean, I actually have a UTexas account, but you know, I just use Gmail. So those are the trade-offs, right?
Addressing addressing the issue of reliability and all that sort of thing. I think when Daniel was talking about rewards from the community and so forth, something, I mean, this comes from gaming, right? So, and OER and gaming communities have things in common. In other words, it's a voluntary, interrelational thing which really doesn't necessarily translate into professional domains that easily. So we probably shouldn't get hung up on whether employers are going to look at your badges when they're in a hiring process yet. That might be possible way down the line, but at the moment it's more of the gaming model where it's an intra-communal authentication of activity, which is really worth nothing more than that. Right. And that's not bad.
I agree. It's intrinsic because you're showing you're a member of a community. Yeah. And you're right that the communities, these are native to particular communities, and to say that your the principal is going to act like a gamer, you're right. You're absolutely right. You called me out. So that's, on the other hand, this really grew out of not only gaming, but also, as I was saying, design, web developers who needed a way to show, in their case, employers, that their skills are changing very quickly. And the professional development in their sense was, well, the college degree wasn't quite cutting it, because after 2 years, what does it mean anyhow? So they're used to actually in their CVs of putting down, of displaying their skill sets a little bit differently. They do have URLs where they can already, and the employers go and take a look at what they've done. When I was looking to hire Rachel, for example, she gave me a very complete, she gave me those things like badges, and I could go and verify them. So, but you're absolutely right. It's not analogous in, say, foreign language professional development. So what our focus is really on is community building and getting people working with web developers has been really interesting for me, because when they have a question, they turn to the community. And they're constantly posting and finding out things from so software developers speak to software developers online all the time. And I thought, gee, that's really great. Maybe we can do something like that, but we need to build that community, and we need to kind of have the social practice of posting in these blogs or whatever. Okay, well, we are coming up on noon. I want to thank all of the participants here and also the participants online. This has been a really great discussion. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope that you've gotten something from it. And I also really hope that you participate in our badges, because that's where things are going. And you're absolutely right. Devin was right. This is a pilot study. We're not just doing this for research. We're doing this because we think that it is going to start right here with us. So please take a stab at this. We've really thought heavily about how we can lower the bar to make these doable, but at the same time, make them relevant to getting you guys involved in the whole production of OERs and open education. And we don't know where this is going, but we think it's going someplace exciting. So thank you very much.